Hi, I'm Stephen with AlbertaUrbanGarden.ca. Tomatoes are by far the most popular garden plant of all, and for good reason. What is better than walking into your garden and grabbing a ripe tomato and popping it in your mouth? Growing tomatoes is more than just planting your favorite kind in the garden. It's all about building your soil and the nutrient cycle so that they can prosper without store-bought fertilizers or amendments. On the last tomato episode, we went through selecting a variety, getting them started in the house, and hardening them off. Now it's time to plant our tomatoes out in the garden. Today I'm going to talk about planting location, how I plant mine, how I fertilize them using free and local resources, and different ways to trellis them in order to maximize their production throughout the growing season. Depending on the type of tomato, you will want to plant them in different ways to help them get to their peak production. First of all, I identify the type of tomato plant that I have. Often on the seed package or the plant tag, they will let you know if you have a determinant or indeterminant. If it's a determinant plant, it will grow to a certain size in ideal conditions and produce one crop all at once. Indeterminate tomatoes like these ones here will continue to grow as long as conditions are favorable and will continue to produce at a trickle here and a trickle there. This is why I make sure that I know which type of tomato I have, because it'll really dictate how I plant them. Sweet and Neat are compact determinant cherry tomatoes. They are perfect for containers or small spaces and produce lots of sweet tomatoes. I have planted some in a larger planter with other crops and in small corners of my main garden beds. I have some larger determinant tomatoes like my Roma that will grow to about 4 feet tall, and that makes them perfect for tomato bags. I have found these small and medium-bodied tomatoes do quite well in containers. One neat variety I have this year is a grafted plant with a potato rootstock and a tomato plant above ground. Whereas small and medium-sized tomatoes do well in containers or small spaces, I find I get the best production for larger varieties, such as my pink brandywine, if they are planted in the garden beds and have a larger trellis. These indeterminate tomatoes by the end of the growing season will grow all the way up this trellis, which is why I've planted them in front of shade-tolerant strawberries that should actually produce before the tomato is large enough to shade them. I generally plant my tomatoes as deep as possible, making sure to remove any branches or leaves that will be under the surface of the soil. This moves the root ball lower into the soil, allowing the plant to have access to additional water and nutrients. Often at the base of the hole, I will place worm castings or compost to provide a little more directly available nutrients. However, this is optional in my case. Tomatoes like this are heavy feeders. However, all I need is free and local resources to provide more than enough nutrients throughout the growing season. I've been using autumn leaves, used coffee grounds, and comfrey to make up my compost, vermicompost, and mulch. I apply the compost and vermicompost directly to the soil, and the mulch goes on top. They then release their nutrients over time to the nutrient cycle, providing the tomatoes with all of the essential and beneficial nutrients they need. With the exception of tomatoes like my Sweet and Neat that will not grow larger than about 30 centimeters or 12 inches tall, tomatoes generally do better with a little bit of support. Vertical supports help prevent wind damage, reduces disease chances, and improves access to sunlight. Determinate varieties with smaller medium-sized fruit, which are not expected to grow more than a few feet tall, generally do quite well in tomato cages. Indeterminate tomatoes with larger fruit generally grow too large for a tomato cage to support effectively. I grow my indeterminate tomatoes on the electrical conduit trellis I built with my brother this spring. I will weave the plant through the netting and use reusable Velcro tie-offs if required. This increases the support on the plant and will help it hold the larger fruit throughout the growing season. I find it a lot easier to add the supports prior to the plant growing too much. By using free and local resources, planting techniques, and the proper supports, I am able to grow large crops of tomatoes, even here in Zone 3, with limited time requirements and no external fertilizers or soil amendments. On the next episode in this year's tomato series, we will go through diseases and their prevention, as well as pruning your tomatoes to improve health and increase harvests. If you like this video, please make sure to subscribe. Thank you very much for joining me today. I appreciate it very much, and I hope you have a fantastic day.